In this video, I'm going to go over the elements of the personal essay and the steps that you'll take to complete it. You'll start by going into the course and come to content. On the left-hand sidebar, you'll see all of Unit 1 is focused on personal essay writing. There are several resources in the learning materials submodule that will help you to complete this assignment. First, you'll be learning about critical thinking. Then you'll be learning about the writing process and some of the elements of narrative writing, for example. What is narrative writing? So we'll talk briefly about narrative writing today in this video, and then I'll show you some of the other resources, one about brainstorming, one about organizing ideas, and one about thesis statements. So just very, very briefly, the narrative writing page talks a little bit about writing a narrative essay. Essentially, it's telling a story. There's going to be an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, and you will have characters and a plot and some kind of conflict that you have to resolve. So if you think about this in terms of the personal essay that you're writing, the idea is that you're going to be writing about how critical thinking has played a role in your life. So maybe you can tell a story about a time when a really angry customer came in to your store and you had to use multiple perspectives to try and see things from their point of view, and you had to develop multiple solutions in order to come up with something that would work for them. Those are just a couple of ideas off the top of my head. But with narrative writing, it's essentially telling a story, just like you would tell a story to a friend after a crazy day at work. You would come home and tell them the story of the day. You want a hook, an attention getter at the beginning, and then you want the details and the body and the plot. You want to make sure that you're describing the characters and who they are. And then in the conclusion, you want to kind of wrap it up and explain how does this address your thesis statement. We'll talk a little bit more about thesis statements in a minute. But there is a great deal of information here on the narrative essay webpage that can help you understand how to build your story. The next page in the learning materials is about generating and organizing ideas. And this is essentially talking about the brainstorming process and the writing process as a whole. At the beginning, we are brainstorming. We're throwing all kinds of ideas out there. And then once we start to narrow down what we're going to write about, then we begin to outline which ideas we're going to keep, which ones make it into the essay, which ones don't, and how we're going to structure that. Then we begin to write a rough draft, right? We start to put the ideas into full sentences and we string things together. We use transitions, but it's not always perfect the first time around, and we need to do some revising. We might need to move things around or work on strengthening our thesis statement, or maybe we don't have a very good conclusion and we need to come up with something that really wraps things up. And then finally, editing is the last step of the process, where we're really going through it with a fine-tooth comb to look for things like spelling errors and sentence coherence. Does this make sense? I tell students all the time to read out loud. You will not process your writing the same way if you're just reading it silently in your head, because your brain knows what you were trying to say already. But if you try to say it out loud, even if you're just reading it to your dog or read it to yourself in the mirror, you use a different part of your brain, and it's sometimes easier to catch mistakes that way. So that's the writing process that we're going to be going through. And this webpage in the course gives you a lot more information about each one of those steps. Then there's a page about organizing ideas and developing a thesis statement. This is when you get to the part of the process where you know what the topic is. You've already done the first discussion board where you came up with 3 topic ideas, and now you're narrowing it down to 1 topic idea. But what exactly are you going to write about? So this webpage will help you at that stage when you are trying to get organized and figure out which ideas you want to use and which ones you don't, how you want to build your essay, and what kind of a thesis statement you want to use. There's another document in the course that has a lot of thesis statement ideas and suggestions, and sorry, I'm scrolling kind of fast here. But there are lots of practice activities on this page as well that can help you really get a good handle on thesis statements, either before you're writing yours or maybe after you've written it, but while you're still in the editing phase and you want to take a closer look at your thesis statement and make sure that it's working for you. So those are the pages under the Unit 1 learning materials that I think are going to be most helpful for you in the beginning of this process. As you move farther along, you absolutely will want to take a look at the writing and outline page, how to really make narrative work in an essay, and what to do when you get to the rough draft stage and how to write a good first draft. So these learning materials will all be helpful for you throughout the process. The actual assignments themselves, oops, wrong link, sorry. The actual assignments build up to your personal essay. In the first discussion board that we talked about in another video, you are just brainstorming ideas. The point is to come up with at least 3 possible topics, and then you're going to comment on your peers' posts and get some feedback from them about what they think might be the strongest one. You can listen to them or not, but it might help you to get some feedback from others. In the second discussion board, you are actually going to narrow it down from 3 of those topics down to 1. Which one are you going to write about? And then you're going to tell me which ones of the critical thinking characteristics and behaviors are you going to be talking about in your essay. Tell me what story you're going to write, but tell me which ones of these critical thinking behaviors and characteristics is going to show up in this story. How does it tie into the theme? And then you're going to come up with an actual thesis statement. Like I just said, it's like the umbrella for your story. You're telling your audience what the essay is going to be about. Then your next assignment is an outline. We're asking you to take the thesis, take the topic, take all of your brainstormed ideas and critical thinking characteristics that you want to use and start to put it into some kind of order so that it makes sense. I have loaded in your folder, if you go into your Google folder, you will see, sorry, I'm trying to open up a blank one for you. If you go into your Google Drive into Unit 1, so if you go into your folder, you'll see obviously 4 different units. We're in Unit 1. You'll see this personal essay development organization worksheet. This is essentially a tool that you can use to help you organize your ideas, right? So we kind of already did this in that discussion board, so you don't have to do this again. But this next page here that talks about the outline is going to be a great resource for you as you begin to build your outline. You can either start here and then turn it into a formal outline on a page, or you can just turn this document in and I'll take it. The point is that I want you to be organizing your thoughts at this stage. So that's what this assignment is about. It's about turning in an outline. After you've done an outline and gotten a little bit of feedback on that, then I'm going to ask you to do a personal essay rough draft. So you've already got your outline, you've already got your ideas. Now what you're doing is you are going to look at some examples of personal essays. You're going to look at the rubric that you're going to be graded on. It's really important when you start writing that you know what things you need to have. You need to know that you have to have a clear, engaging hook and a thesis statement. You need to know that you have to have several specific, concrete details. You need to know that that critical thinking information shows up in your paper. You need to know that that has to be there. It does need to be in an APA format. So that information is also located in the course. I'll show you in just 1 second where that is. I'm almost out of time. I want to quickly get to the personal essay final draft. So what you'll do after submitting a rough draft is that you'll get some feedback, either peer feedback or feedback from your instructor, or you might go to the writing center. It depends on the course and it depends on the specific instructions that you get. But once you complete that rough draft, then you begin that revising and editing part where you start making changes to it and making it better. And then you'll turn in your final draft. And so the final draft does need to be a 2 to 3 page essay. It does need to be in APA formatting, which in this particular case does not mean that you have to have a references page or citations, because it's a personal essay and you're not using any outside research. All you have to do is have the formatting correct and have the title page correct, which is one of the reasons why I ask you to create a title page as a first week pre-course assignment, just so that I know that you know how to do that. You'll use that same skill to create a title page for this document. So there are several resources here that you can click on as you're going through these assignments if you want to take a look at more instructions about the first draft, or if you want to look at your rubric. Make sure that you're clicking on all of the links in the assignments. Don't feel like you're doing this alone, because even if you don't understand something and you've clicked all of the links and it still isn't making sense, you can always email me and I'll do my best to help you and keep you on track for success. So I hope that this helps you understand the process for the personal essay, the multiple steps that are going to lead up to it, and the different assignments that all are going to build to getting you to finish that Unit 1 assignment. Let me know if you have any other questions.